Hey everyone, welcome to the Dare to Care podcast, the podcast where we talk about the inner workings of ministry at Inspire Family Fellowship and community stories within the church. If you have comments, stories, or questions about Inspire or our Dare to Care ministries at any point during the podcast today, feel free to send those questions to me at amy@inspirefamily.org. We also invite you to join us in person at Inspire any Sunday or Wednesday that you're able. 523 North 21st Street, Bismarck, North Dakota. Our Sunday services are at 9:15 and 10:45, and Wednesday nights we start at 5 with a meal, classes for all at 6, and our family service at 7. My name is Amy Langang. I'm the Dare to Care coordinator at Inspire Family Fellowship, and I'm here today with Pastor Rob and Pastor Randy.
Which means we have two problems here today.
Yeah.
First problem, we're recording this right in the heart of nap time, okay? I'm tired, Ty's tired. I'm assuming you guys are tired.
The after lunch
I don't
coma.
get tired.
Okay, Randy doesn't get tired. That's good.
He drinks coffee all day.
And then in addition to that, we've got two pastors. So does that mean like a double long podcast or what was that? No, Ty says no.
Ty
We better keep it.
Okay.
I
succinct,
will keep you guys in line and keep things moving.
Okay, we'll put the buzzer out and you can shut us down. So we're still shooting for the 25. So don't be afraid if you're just tuning in.
You can tune in.
Okay. But yeah, we are here with two pastors because if you haven't heard yet, the news is starting to trickle out. But Pastor Randy is looking forward to a very exciting summer. He is going on sabbatical this summer. And we thought we could get together and talk about a little bit like what his plans are, what that's going to look like, and get a sense of what's going on. And yeah.
I'm going to interrupt really quick. You said a sabbatical.
Yeah.
So I'm a former teacher. And I guess I'm not really sure what a sabbatical is.
Yeah, me neither. I'm just reading the script.
Okay,
Randy wrote for me.
we're just told what to say here. So, Randy, are you going to explain this to us like we're children?
Okay.
Sabbatical.
So as a teacher, actually, I'm surprised you're not familiar with that term, but that's probably because you were in the public school system. College and university instructors are actually quite familiar with the idea of sabbatical. They also often will get sabbaticals as part of their sort of work rhythm. The word sabbatical actually comes from the Hebrew Shabbat, and it just means 7. And so the idea with sabbatical is that it kind of follows from the Old Testament the Jubilee patterns, where they talk about every 7 years this should happen, and then every 49 years we should just turn over all of society and do crazy things. But the idea is to create a period of rest after every 7 years. I don't know that most pastors necessarily get sabbatical. Some certainly do. And I think very few pastors actually get it on the dot every 7 years or anything like that.
Okay, so I'm pressing pause here. So you're saying sabbatical means rest.
It does.
So you're just like going to rest for a little bit?
It's a long sleep. No.
Hibernation. Got it.
I think that the idea there is not so much taking a nap, but rejuvenation. So unplugging from your pastoral duties for a brief period of time. And in my case, it's going to be, I think, about 10 weeks. And actually engaging in some other things that kind of can provide the soul a chance to sort of rejuvenate, maybe refresh a little bit, regain some perspective, which I think anybody who works in ministry knows that there's some real value to that. I did actually have a sabbatical about 10 years ago, 11 years ago at our previous church, and very much it was great. It was really a much needed thing. And so for those of us who are really in kind of the grind of ministry, it can be a really helpful thing. And it's actually a really helpful thing to promote longevity in ministry too. And so you'll see that with pastors, particularly pastors who work in larger churches, because larger churches can more easily accommodate usually for the absence of their pastor. And thankfully, we're at that point now.
Yeah, and so what this means is, on the ground, in a nutshell, June, July, and part of August, I believe, is the schedule.
Yep.
You're not going to be here.
That's correct.
You're going to. Where are you going to be? What are you going to do?
Yeah. So what that means too is that I'm not going to be here. If somebody at the church calls me, I'm most likely not going to
He's
answer
not
that.
going to answer the phone.
If somebody says, "Can you do a funeral?" I'm going to say no, but maybe Rob and Ernie can help you.
Yep.
It really does need to be an unplugging.
Mm-hmm.
So there's kind of two things that are on my agenda. The funny thing with sabbatical is from church to church, expectations on what happens at a sabbatical can kind of vary a little bit. But our board has been really good and really clear about, some things that they don't want me to feel like I have to somehow produce something necessarily. That's what I did with my first sabbatical. I wrote my first book on the first sabbatical. And I am wired in such a way that I actually want to and sort of need to produce something. I want to take that time and find a way to not only do the rest and the rejuvenation and things that we talked about, but also be able to maybe bring something back that's going to bless, inspire in some way or another. So that's my plan. I have kind of a two-part plan.
Okay. What's the other part?
Well, the first part is starting in early June for about looks like about a 15-day period. I'm finally going to get to travel to some of the Holy Lands. I've never done that. I'm 59 years old, and I've never actually traveled out of the country apart from mission work. I've done a couple of mission projects out of the country, but nothing beyond that. And so it's probably time before I get too old and can't move around as easily and walk, because these trips involve a lot of walking and hiking to do that. So myself and my family, we're going to be going, and we're not going to Jerusalem. That's not quite open to tourists fully yet.
Okay.
So because you don't want to be in a war.
That would be helpful. Yeah.
Safety.
Yeah.
And so maybe someday in the future, but we
So
will
what
be
are some
doing
of
a
your
lot of
highlights
the
that you're
the footsteps
stopping
of
at? Yep.
Paul.
Okay.
And so we'll be joining Viking cruises, and I know a lot of our members have done Viking cruises and really talked about how good that is. And we'll be visiting cities like Athens. So there we get to see Mars Hill, where Paul did his famous sermon at the Areopagus. And then we'll be taking their boat to Crete, Rhodes. Those are also mentioned in Scripture. And then, of course, the book of Ephesians is the church in Ephesus. And so we'll be spending time in Ephesus, looking at the Library of Celsius and some other places. Really, really significant archaeological site for Christians.
And I've been to Ephesus. It's cool.
Yeah.
Yeah.
In fact, you're going to have to maybe give me some pointers
Yeah.
because, I've talked to people who, particularly, they point out Ephesus that you really have a fairly powerful experience there.
Yeah. Well, and Ephesians, like the book written to Ephesus,
Right.
is like our theme verse. It's on the wall.
Yeah.
So I think that, I don't know. I'm projecting now. I think that'll be really
No, I'm
for you.
anticipating that's going to be pretty great. That also includes stops at Troy, interestingly enough, not particularly a biblical site, but also a really cool historical site. It wasn't that long ago. Scholars didn't even think that Troy actually really existed. They thought it was more in the area of myth and legend. Well, they keep finding archaeological evidence of these places. Much of that stuff is biblical. But a lot of it now is also extra biblical, like the place, like Troy, and so it gives us some sense that a lot of the stories that have come down to us through written works of antiquity, they're not just pure myth and legend. They are reflecting some real things, and that's really exciting. And then the boat trip ends in Istanbul, which used to be called Constantinople. That's in Turkey. And so what you have there is the famous Hagia Sophia. Really, that and the Vatican are the two cathedrals that are really at the kind of top of the list. There are others that are amazing too. But that is a beautiful, beautiful site. And then that's also the site where the Council of Nicaea occurred in that area. So I'm hoping during this time to be able to, on a daily basis, send everybody at church little video updates of here's where we're at today, here's a really interesting, cool thing that you might find interesting or helpful in your faith, to see that this stuff is very real. So I I'm kind of preparing to be blown away,
Absolutely.
you know. And then after Istanbul, we're going to sneak over to Rome for 3 days, and we'll
Good for
spend
you.
Some time at the Colosseum, the Vatican, the catacombs underneath, and the Pantheon, hopefully the Pantheon, and then we're going to sneak down to the Amalfi Coast for a day trip and see Pompeii. So I think I'm going to be pretty exhausted
I think so.
after that.
Yeah, that sounds
You'll
like
need
an
the
adventure.
rest of the sabbatical
That's not a
just
vacation.
to do the
That's
rest.
definitely-
Well, it's kind of everything, right? But yeah, I think it's, especially not having any real experience traveling, internationally. I'm sure that I'll be a little stressed out here and there. Not when we're with Viking. That's a pretty easy thing. But when we're on our own in Rome, that might be like, okay, Josh, Jordan, please don't do something stupid while we're here. But no, and so. And my experience is, even when I did my prior sabbatical, where we did kind of a Christian history thing with Washington, D.C., a lot of that stuff makes its way back into things like my sermons and teaching stuff. And so I'm hoping that part of it will bless our people.
You had mentioned possibly doing some writing. Is your writing, are you thinking, going to be based off of your travels?
Yeah.
Or-
No, it isn't.
Okay.
So at least as of right now,
Okay.
that's not my plan. That could come later. But the writing that I would actually like to do with the remaining time, so that is going to take, a little over 2 weeks. And then I'm going to have, still another 8 weeks, and I'm not going to just sit and twiddle my thumbs. What my goal is for that next 8 weeks is to compile a history of Inspire, the first 10 years, because not the summer of 26, but the summer of 27 is our 10-year anniversary. And so what I would like to do is I would like to, go back through our history and kind of write a 2-part book. The first part would be the history of the first 10 years of Inspire, our story as a church, and try to tell that as accurately as possible. And so I think there's going to be some, very interesting stories in there that people may be not aware of.
Or forgot.
Or forgot, yeah. And our founding is very atypical, I think in a lot of ways. So I think that story is going to be very good as part of our celebration of our 10-year anniversary. And then the second half, I kind of want to talk about, for lack of a better term, the Inspire way.
Okay.
What is it that we do in terms of our ministry, our philosophy of ministry? What has contributed to, how is it that we're ministering to all these families and stuff? For a church to grow to 1,000, 1,100 members in 8 years is a pretty good deal. That's pretty good. So I think that the Lord has guided us into doing a lot of things right. And that part of the book isn't for bragging purposes. It's because Rob will tell you that I think we are running into more and more churches who are looking for help. And it's possible that might be a tool in at least helping other churches think about how they want to do ministry. They don't have to be us, and they certainly don't have to wholesale copy what we do or anything like that. But we know how much we've benefited from other churches and their ideas.
Yep.
And we want to be, in essence, passing that on and a source of that. And sometimes I think if you can put that in writing, it's even more helpful. And so I kind of want to put together a book that has those 2 parts to it.
Awesome. All right.
That'll keep me busy.
I think so. Okay, so this is going through mid-August. So you're just leaving Rob over here.
Oh, I'd say Ernest
Wait, what?
with them, but I don't know.
Did you know about this, Rob?
No.
No, I'm kidding. We're totally joking right now. But Rob,
Yeah. Well, yeah.
what do you do
I'm
when
excited
your
to
mentor
finally
is
be in
leaving
charge. I've got some new rules that I'm going to be bringing to the table.
Look out, you guys.
Yeah,
Yeah,
heads
watch
up.
out.
You thought Randy was tough.
Oh,
Wait till
boy.
you